again the properties of auxins because of experiments that have been performed. And one of these experiments is what we are talking about here, which is what happens if we cut off the tip of a shoot and then we place it back and observe, or even replace it with another thing and then observe whether growth will happen or not. So this experiment here, what we call the Agar block, gives us a very good insights on what on the properties of auxins. So what happens in this experiment, as you have seen, you have the tip of a shoot that is cut off, and then it is placed on Agar block. Okay, and then after being placed on the Agar block, then it is placed back on the shoot. The Agar block is the one which is placed back on the shoot. So one is placed like this in A, that it is even, and then one is placed in a way that the other half in B is not covered by the other. So what are the observations? That's basically the procedure that was done. The tip of the shoot was cut, and then that tip that was cut off is placed on Agar for some time, and then later on the Agar is actually placed back. Remember, we have two pieces of Agar. So you have one for one tip, one of the Agar blocks is placed to cover the shoot evenly, and then another one is used to cover is put back on the shoot with the other part not covered. That's what was done. The observation was that for A, you'll have uniform growth, and actually the shoot grows upright in the uniform way that we could expect. And then in B, you see that the growth is more on the part where there is no Agar. So what does that tell us? Okay. The shoot grows for where you have uniform, where you have the Agar placed evenly, you have the youth growing, the shoot growing upright. And then for B, the shoot doesn't grow upright because you have growth happening more on the side where the Agar block is placed. What is the explanation for that? The explanation is that, now going back to the image, the explanation is that when this tip was placed on the Agar block, the auxins diffused into the Agar block. So that means that when the Agar blocks were placed back on the shoot, they had auxins. So the auxins diffused into the shoot and caused the growth. Now, for A, since the Agar block was placed evenly on the shoot, so for B, now you can see that where the Agar block is placed, you have more growth on the side, because that is why the curving is away from the block. Okay, because this part is growing more. Okay, that's what basically happens. So the conclusion is that if you have high concentration of the auxins in the shoot, you have more growth. If you have low concentration in the shoot, you have limited growth. Okay, that's very, very important to note. Okay. So still repeating what I started with is that in the roots, auxins cause growth if they're in low concentration. And then in the shoot, growth stimulated when the auxins are in higher concentration. Okay, so the role of the shoot, the role of the auxins in shoot growth and root growth is mainly because of the difference in the auxin concentration. In the shoot, if you have high auxin concentration, you will have growth. In the root, if you have high concentration of auxin, you are inhibiting growth. The auxins are inhibiting growth in the root if they are in high concentration. So if they're in low concentration, then they promote growth. So that's an image that basically can be brought in your exams to ask you questions, but the explanations remain the same. Growth, stimulation, because of auxins, the higher the concentration, the more the shoots grow. If the lower the concentration,